Let me know what you think. And since these shootings, the archetype has mutated. We're seeing a shift from the loner to the perfectionist, the mimic, and the soldier. More like there's a sense of belonging or wannabe. And I want to walk through the last 5 cases so we can analyze this from a different perspective and understand how they are all connected with how we handle fear. And we're going to start with the mimic, somebody that imitates. Colt from Winder, Georgia in 2024 is a good example of the mimic cry cycle. A 14-year-old boy raised in domestic chaos, from the common fights to the discussions to the beatings, an environment of destruction, chaos, and very little organization. And to make matters worse, the father, Colin Gray, bought him a gun as a bonding tool. He ignored all the red flags from his son, the Discord messages, the obsession with school shooters prior to him, all because he wanted a son to be proud of. The question is, did Colin Gray put in all the work for his son to be at the standards of his expectation? The mother, Marcy, on the other hand, lived 200 miles away, and perhaps she felt it. She felt the distance. She felt that this disconnection brought the worst out of him, because on the morning of the shooting, she called the school counseling office, which is very interesting. It intrigues me. She was seeing the common threads and behaviors of the anomalies of her son. And she said, "Check on my son. It's an extreme emergency. If this is not a red flag, then I wouldn't know what is." And let's analyze what happened. At 9:30 a.m., Colt leaves his algebra class. He doesn't go to the bathroom to hide. He is well prepared. At 9:45 a.m., he returns to the classroom door. It's locked. A student goes to open it, sees the gun, and jumps back, frightened. Doesn't know what to do and how to react. What will you do in that situation? And lucky for them, that locked door saved an entire room. Well, after that, he proceeded with the attack. He turns and fires at a neighboring classroom and the hallway. He kills 2 students and 2 math teachers. At the end, he surrenders immediately. He avoided the firefight because all he wanted was a statement. He was never looking for a war just to be noticed. That was the statement. He lacked a father figure that showed him morals, ethics, values, responsibilities, and love, and also discipline. So where did he go? He became an apprentice under the ghosts of previous shooters. He found in them a mentor, a hero, and to him, being a shooter, being a monster, was better than being nothing, because that's how the shooters feel, like nothing. Let's analyze the second case, the perfectionist. And a lot of us fall victim into the perfectionist trap due to unhealthy comparisons that we create for ourselves, thinking that keeping up with the Jonases is a good example. It's a healthy challenge to have, not knowing that the Jonases are broke. The question is, would that fix you? Competing against something unknown. And the perfectionist has to do with the Brown University shooting that happened in Providence, or Rhode Island, in 2025, last year. This case shook academia. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it happened there and with one of their students, especially on a high achieving student. He had perfect GPA, no criminal record, someone you would give an honorary degree. Would you think seeing this student could become a monster, a mass shooter? Depression, anxiety, fear doesn't discriminate. His parents were Lawnmower parents. They were always clearing all the obstacles for him since birth. So what they did is they didn't raise a son. They raised a resume, curriculum. And for them, his silence was just studying, that he was concentrated on the end goal of finishing a college career. But what did this do? What did this trigger in his mind? Now that everything was given to him and facilitated for him to be the perfect student, the question is, what happens when something doesn't go perfect and doesn't become as organized as you planned? Remember, we talked about the perfectionist trap. His entire identity was tied to academic validation. Think about the satisfaction he felt every time he maintained those A's, the reward of being recognized for those achievements. But we cannot sustain perfection. He got a C, and he didn't know how to handle. He didn't know how to confront failure and how to rebuild himself from it. What did he learn from failure? What was the lesson behind? And for him, C wasn't just only a grade. For him, it was an ego death. It was destruction of his character, something he considered he could never live with, because his reputation was all about being perfect. So let's analyze step by step what happened on December 12th, 11 p.m. Finals week, places crowded, stressful faces, taking tests. He walks into the sciences library, almost like the citadel of his academic worth. That's where he spent most of his time. And the target, he goes to the professor who gave him the C. Then he enters the office. He doesn't scream. He is relaxed. He places his transcript on his desk, then shoots the teacher and his assistant. Then he sits in the professor's seat as a sign of empowerment, and then he takes his own life. He couldn't live in a world seen as someone average. That's what he thought of himself after getting that C. Average, not perfect, faulty. We have to be very careful when we pursue something. It is healthy to pursue things with the purpose of excellency, not perfection. Excellency gives you the room to fail, learn, get up, grow, repeat. Perfection, the rule of perfection is never fail. And we are designed to fail in order to learn. We have to ask ourselves, is our drive for excellence or perfection pursuit of growth? Or is it a shield you use to hide the fact that you don't know what is your real identity without your achievements? Tell me what you think about this question. Do you know who you are without the things that you have and the things you achieve? Now we're going to analyze the quiet quitter, the anhedonic fade. For those that don't know, he's the San Jose nightclub shooter that happened in San Jose, California, December 2025. His co-workers describe him at the tech company he worked on. They didn't even know his last name. That's how much they knew about him. His family hasn't seen him in 2 years. And this desolation marks you. You start questioning your value. You start questioning your worth. And you start thinking that you are unseen because of that, because you're unworthy. But how did he view the people in the nightclub during the shootings? He definitely didn't watch or see them as humans. He saw them as non-player characters who were having fun while he was miserable. Envy, jealousy is a killer. And what happened that night at 11:45 p.m.? He stands outside the loft club with this jealousy build up in himself, boiling, waiting to explode. He watches the line. He starts hating their laughter and their joy. So what he does, he walks to the smoking patio, but he doesn't engage. He stops. He fires 3 shots to the crowd, killing the bouncer who symbolizes the gatekeeper to that fun that made him miserable, or the fun he denied himself. But he thought that people were denying that to him. Then he drops the gun and waits. As you can see, he didn't want to escape. He wanted to be processed. He wanted the attention, seeking attention, because this would at least have the system acknowledge his existence. Finally, he is recognized. Finally, people see who he is. They know his name. They know his last name. They know who he is. We have to understand the importance of the feeling of belonging, the feeling of socializing, the feeling of being loved, the feeling of having friends, living, experiencing. We have to ask ourselves, when we stop participating in the friction of human experiences, what is it that you see? Do you stop seeing people as people? Do you allow your depression to create the envy and joy that denies you happiness and moments of joy? What do you do when you're depressed? Who do you talk to? Who do you go to? Do you seek help? Or do you allow the emotion itself to make you feel that nobody wants you and that you are unworthy? I strongly suggest that although depression is something that curbs you in like a ball and doesn't let you out of the hole, regardless of how you feel, isolation is not a solution. Regardless of how you feel, look for friends, look for family, look to talk to someone. Even if you're not feeling it, just the fact that you're doing something to not be there is always a good step. Think about it as this way. Somebody puts you in a hole. Imagine if 3 days passes by and you're hungry and you make the decision that you're not going to put any effort to move out of the hole. But suddenly you see an arm. Should that arm give you hope to scale, to climb up? But in order to reach that hand or that arm, you have to put in the effort to at least move out of the hole or the bottom part of it, so you can reach out to the exit. And then we have the soldier from Orem, Utah in September 2025. I call him the failure to launch turned warrior. And let's think about it. He was unemployed, living at home. He had no real problems, no real challenges, no purpose. So he adopted other people's problem online. The curiosity that led him to his own self-destruction. And his surname there was Vicarious, Grievance. He joined extremist forums that discuss radical topics. And he did this not because he believed in politics, but because he needed a war to fight, because that's all he knew. So what happens after he's looking and he's debating and he's having heated conversations online with people he doesn't know? And this anger keeps building up, and he doesn't have anyone where to deposit all this anger. He doesn't know how to navigate through his emotions, feeling disoriented. On September 15 at 2 p.m., he drives to City Hall wearing full tactical gear from Amazon that he bought. He feels like a soldier. He feels like the person online feels brave. But although he feels this way, he looks like a lost child. He breaches the lobby and demands to see a representative. When the security guard steps forward, Tyler fires. He is tackled by the civilians that were there before he can reload. Thank God, because he wanted more blood. He needed it. But yet, in court, he looked confused. If you look at the videos of him in court, he looks very confused. Almost like he was waiting for like a respawn, reset button. That's how he looked. Like, I dare you to watch these images of him in the courtroom. It's clear that he was disassociated with himself. And this happens when we also face emotional disorders, when we have PTSD, when we have fear, when fear overtakes our mind. We start feeling disconnected with ourselves. It's almost like we're outside of ourselves, but you can't feel anything inside. There's a numbness to it. This is what Tyler was facing and feeling, but didn't tell anyone. Didn't seek for help. This is why he created the warrior persona, the one that debated, the one that was strong enough to debate about any political issues, but all he was doing is feeding his shadow with all that anger. And I ask this to those that feel stagnant in their life. Are you fighting for a cause, or are you just using a mission to distract yourself from who you really are and the things you must do to give yourself purpose? A man without a purpose. Welcome back again, Ethics Skill Podcast, where we explore human experiences. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do not forget our campaign. We are committed to transform your subscriptions into pro bono programs for mental health, so you can free somebody's mind from their traumas and help them heal just by subscribing. Very simple, and it costs absolutely nothing. Help us through this campaign, and we just want to pay forward, not only to our viewers, but for those that can't afford mental health services. Just remember, the statistics are real. Only 4 out of 10 Americans can afford mental health services. So help us change that. Hopefully, we can move the statistics and perhaps move it from 4 to 5 out of 10 people have good mental health services. Let's start.
To the success of the Unity Brunch, may we continue moving forward together. Cheers!